Hey guys, Johnnie Ferro here, and I'm coming at you with another hashtag YT100 challenge video. And I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm actually working on switching my videos up and doing a few different things, and this is going to actually be the first video in a series of videos called the Johnnie Ferro Tone. Just going over the different aspects of how I get the sounds that I get, whether performing or recording. And I'm going to start out by going over the electric guitars I use. Now, just a few general things is that, with electric guitars, there's a couple things that have to do with the sound. Number one, obviously, is the shape and the wood, the shape of the body and the wood used to make the body. That'll affect the way the sounds resonate. If the body's chambered, that'll affect the way that the sound is created. And then, of course, there's the pickups and the wiring that is in the guitar. Different pickups have different sonic coloring, I guess you could say. And I'll go over that in more depth with each guitar. And then there's also things like the material of the fretboard and the neck. I mean, that affects the resonance a whole bunch. Even the bridge, the type of bridge you use, can have an effect on the resonance of the sound. So here we go. I'm not going to go too much further into detail on the general stuff. I'm just going to start by going through each of these guitars and what's different about them, and maybe even a little of the story behind each one. So here we go. Alright, so to start things off, this is my Minik Inferno, the Welcome to Hollywood Inferno. Now, this guitar has got a lot going on, and this right now is my #1 guitar. And here's the reason for that. I've played these guitars a lot, Miniks in general, and then also just the Inferno. And the versatility of this guitar is beyond anything I've ever seen. Just the tonal capabilities and breadth of this instrument I've just never seen anything that is remotely its equal. And there's a few reasons why that is. Number one, obviously the body shape. Now, aside from being eye-catching, there's a functionality to it. Each of the flame tongues at the bottom of this guitar, each one of these serves the function of essentially a tuning fork. There's a special chambering for this body. Like the body, there's actually parts of the inside that are cut away. And traditionally, when companies do chambering, it's called weight relief chambering, and it's literally just to make the guitar lighter. Now, what Minik did is, rather than take it from that approach, they thought with a functional approach of, well, sonically, how would chambering affect the guitar and the sound of it? And that's the approach they took on chambering their guitar and deciding where to chamber and what to take out and how to chamber it. And then the weight relief is kind of a byproduct of that, because this is not a terribly heavy guitar. So basically, when the sound is played on these strings, the sound resonates through each of these in a certain way, and each one of these takes a certain frequency. There's a certain frequency response that occurs in here off of what happens on the strings, and that resonance then gets sent to the pickups to create the sound that you hear with the guitar. It does a couple things. Number one, sonically, it's the most full sound I've ever heard, the most versatile sound. Secondly, it balances out the low end of sound and the high end of sound. A lot of guitars that I've played, and that this is kind of a general thing, when you play an electric guitar especially, you tend to lose the bottom end when you play like a chord, because the high strings, the higher pitches, cut through the sound. This design actually handles that problem. So anyway, phenomenal instrument. A lot of thought and care went into it, and this guitar is fantastic for pretty much every genre. I've recorded with it, I currently play live with it, and it's my #1 guitar. It's my flagship guitar. I'm not going to say it's the only guitar I ever play, because the main reason it's my flagship is because of the versatility of it, and I can literally do anything with this guitar. Alright, my #2 guitar, this is my Minik Fury. And this guitar, not quite as crazy of a shape as the Inferno, but no less deadly on a sonic level by any means. And this guitar is awesome. Number one, I particularly love the neck on this guitar. It's a little bit wider and flatter than the neck on the Inferno. It's a very fast neck. And I usually use this guitar when I want to do like heavier rhythm parts, and I'll use it for leads as well. But it's got the pickups in this guitar are a little bit hotter, so it has a bit of a crunchier sound. It's really good for rock, blues, even heavy metal. I don't play metal often, but when I do, it's great for those kinds of sounds for rhythm guitar. And then just a really nice fast neck if you want to just tear through a lead guitar part. This is your horse. Very similar body shape to a Gibson SG, but design-wise, just very far and away different. Again, you have chambering in here, but it's not weight relief chambering. It's chambering done based on the body shape to actually create sonic balance and resonance and frequency response that you're just not going to get on any other guitar. This, by the way, is the guitar that I recorded the entirety of my song Move Along on this guitar. The entire thing. Leads, rhythms. I think there was one part that I played on my Fender Telecaster, one small background guitar part. Everything else done totally on this guitar to give you a sense of what this guitar sounds like. Check that song out and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. There you go. That's the Minik Fury. This is my number 2. Alright, so this is my Fender Telecaster and what I would, I guess, dub my number 3 guitar. Now, this guitar, you know, like I said, the Inferno, the Minik, I do tend to use them more than anything else. The versatility can't be beat. Sometimes I really do like just a Telecaster sound. You know, there's a couple things, like, for example, on the song Twisted Pictures on the Welcome to Hollywood album, that was done on this neck pickup of the Telecaster, and it was just the perfect sound for that. There's a couple other times when I've used the Telecaster for a specific sound. It's also just a great backup guitar, again, very versatile. This one has a Seymour Duncan Hot Rails pickup in here instead of the traditional Telecaster pickup, so it's actually a stacked humbucker pickup. The sound's a little fatter. You got a little bit less noise happening the way you traditionally which happens in a Telecaster a lot of times. With the single coil pickups, you got a little bit of a noise thing happening. This cancels that out. Nice, hot, fat sound, and then this has a nice, beautiful, clean neck pickup sound of the traditional Telecaster. So that's this guitar. Alright, so this is my Fender Stratocaster. To be honest with you, I'm not even sure if it's a legit Fender, and I'll explain that to you in a minute. There's actually kind of a fun story of how I got this guitar. But anyway, it's got the Strat body. It's got a scalloped neck, so the neck is really great for lead playing. And I actually have, the tuners are Godot tuners, really great tuners. And this has a Shaler tremolo, locking tremolo system. I'm not one for tremolos too much, but I really loved the tone on this guitar when I found it, so I went ahead and got this. I don't even have the bar in here. I don't even think I have the bar for the tremolo on this. I don't even think they make Shaler tremolos anymore. I like these better than Floyd Rose, but I don't really do much with tremolos. Anyway, these the pickups on this are EMG active pickups. Here's where the funny story comes in. When I got this guitar, I was at a friend's house, and he had this guitar, and he just let me try it, and he wasn't really using it. And I just fell in love with this thing. So he asked me if I wanted to buy it, and at the time, the pickups had a really extra crunchy sound. Like, it was weird, and it wasn't his thing. He's into more cleaner tones and, you know, putting distortion on when he wants it. But otherwise, he likes a nice clean tone, a traditional Strat sound. So I was like, all right, what do you want for it? I think he gave this to me for like $200, thinking that the pickup was screwed up. And he was like, oh yeah, they're passive pickups. They're really crunchy. Okay, fine. So I take it one day to get the guitar set up at Grayson's Toontown. I took it over to Sam over there in Glendale. And he says, did you know that these are active pickups? I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, the battery is under the pick guard. So you have to take the whole pick guard off to get to the battery to change it out. Turns out the battery was just low, and that's why the pickups are really crunchy when I first tried it out. And my friend Larry, that's what he thought, was that they were passive pickups and the pickups were super hot. Change the battery on this. The sound is so pristine, clean. It's ridiculous. It's gorgeous. It's like everything you would want out of a Stratocaster and more. You know, and you know, I believe the guy, Larry, that I got this from, he bought this at Guitar Center used for not very much more than he charged me for it. There's no Fender logo on the neck, so I don't know if this is a real Fender neck. I don't even really know if this is a real Fender body, to be honest with you. Couldn't tell you what kind of wood it is, but I will tell you that when I want a Strat sound, which, you know, isn't terribly often, but when I do, this is a fantastic guitar. It plays really, really nice, and it gets me what I need. All right, and the last guitar that I have that I use, this is my Electra, and really, of all the guitars I have, this is probably the most sentimental one. I'll go into the story about how I got it in a minute, but this is, I believe it was built in 1982, which was the year I was born, so I'm just dating myself here in case anyone was wondering how old I actually am. This does not have the original pickups. The pickups have been switched out for some humbuckers off of the Fender Blacktop guitar. you know, and it's a really beautiful, nice playing guitar. It's got a really traditional, like, fat 70s rock style tone, really like Led Zeppelin-y tone to it. And it's fantastic for lead, for rhythm. And I've been to hell and back with this guitar. It was the first, really what I consider the first really legit electric guitar I ever had. I think I had one electric guitar, or no, I take that back. I want to say I had one other. I had like a Fender Squier Strat before that, and then I had one other like knockoff guitar that I really don't consider a real electric. But anyway, the first one that was like a really nice quality guitar. And the way I got it is I have a cousin, Tim. His name's Tim White, and by the way, he's an awesome artist. You should check him out. I'll put his link in the description below. But he played, you know, years ago. He actually has made some guitars, and he played guitar. This was going back late 90s, I want to say. This is going back a ways. And there was a family reunion for our family, and I hadn't seen Tim in a while. And he comes walking up to me with this guitar case, and he sets it down and hands me a card. And the card, I'll never forget this card. It was like a picture of this dog with these bug eyes. It was the weirdest card. And inside the card it said, you know, well, today is your lucky day. And he was moving to Rochester from the Buffalo area, and he didn't want to take his guitar with him, or he couldn't take it with him. And he was like, you know, I'm giving you the guitar, and, you know, the one pickup's a little messed up, and you can, you know, fix it or just play it on the other pickup the way I always did. But he gave me this guitar, and it was amazing. You know, I mean, nobody on an artistic level had ever done anything for me like that at that point. And, you know, he didn't have to do that, and I never forgot that, and it really always meant a lot to me. I'm even getting a little emotional thinking about it here, but, you know, he's just always been very supportive of me as an artist, and likewise, he's a fantastic artist and amazing woodworker, and he's actually getting back into playing as well, and he's also gotten into doing, you know, displaying his art at art shows around the country, and he's been doing really well, so I'm really proud of him. And anyway, he was the one that gave me this guitar, and, you know, my first bands were on this guitar. This guitar was my #1 for a long time. My band, Toy Box Heroes, back in Buffalo. You know, you guys, I've talked about Toy Box Heroes in the past. This was the main guitar I used for that band. I recorded on this guitar, and I've just been through thick and thin with this guitar, and it's never failed me. It's always played like a champ. It's always delivered. You know, and at this point, I don't use it very much, honestly. At this point, it's almost like, I guess, how Slash's guitar has become the one he recorded Appetite for Destruction on. You know, is that from what I understand, he doesn't gig with it anymore. It's kind of like his thing that he'll just, you know, he just doesn't want it to get messed up, and it just means a lot, you know. So that's this guitar, and that's the story behind it. And it is still a guitar that I'll pull out once in a while. You know, I'm not even going to say I'll never use it for a show. I do record on it occasionally, you know, when I just want a specific sound. But it's always been a fantastic guitar. It's an absolute warhorse. So there you go, guys. That is part 1 of the Johnnie Ferro Tone. These are the electric guitars that I use to inflict all sorts of sonic damage and goodness and other effects on you. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Also, too, I will have links to at least a couple of these instruments in the description below if you have an interest in picking one up. I do recommend it, especially, like, the Miniks are fantastic. I mean, any of them are fantastic guitars, honestly, but particularly the Miniks are just amazing, amazing instruments that you can get very affordably. All right, guys, I'm Johnnie Ferro, and I will see you on the next video. #YT100. Mwah!